So we are here today with Simone, and we're going to continue our series of the 12 profiles. We're starting from the back, going to the front. We did the 6-3. We did the 6-2, and now we're at the 5-2. So 12 profiles. We're going from the back to the front. We even have some profiles that people have sent in. Simone is going to help me to tap in both to the general energy of the 5-2 and to the actual charts. So Simone, I was just asking you if you would let us know a little bit like who you are and what soul communication is and how we're going to do this together.
In terms of human design, I am a 6-4 emotional projector. I have a completely open G. And in terms of soul communication, my gift is I communicate at the level of soul consciousness. So everything has a soul. It doesn't matter if it's a person or a plant or a tree or a profile. So I'm able. That is one of my gifts is to be able to communicate at the level of soul consciousness. So it's so fun to work with you guys today.
Cool. So first we're going to see the 5-2 profile a little bit in general. So if you have done your human design chart, it's going to say profile 5/2. If you have only done your gene keys, you're going to look at the green spheres and you're going to see the dot something. It's going to be a number on the top and it's going to be dot something. It's going to be a number from 1 to 6. That's your first number. And then you're going to look at the very bottom. It says purpose. And it's going to be a number, a dot, and another number from 1 to 6. And that is that part after the slash. So right now, today, we're going to look at the 5-2 profile. And if you are, for example, a 5-1 profile, it's going to speak to you quite a lot because the 5 is going to be the same in the profiles. Or if you're a 3-5 profile, that 5 is also part of your profile. So the 5th line is all about the 5th chakra. It's all about your voice in the world. It's the vibration that you have in the world because it's about your vocal cords. They're always vibrating. That's how you create sound. And it is about your voice as leadership, you could say. It's about your creative expression. If you have a 5th line here in your profile, you're going to have this ability to come with practical, new, universal solutions for the world. So it's not only that you have a voice that is practical, you have a voice that comes with solution, you have a vibrancy around you. So there is also something just like when there's a power and an impact in your voice. So with this also comes a kind of responsibility, you could say. We say that in the really low frequency, the 5th line can become tyrannical or at least manipulative, because it has this power of voice and it's going to be able to impact the world. And this can be for good and for bad. So when we speak about leadership for good or for bad, it is important for the 5th line to, I would say, to always understand that the power, you're not here to just project your power in the world. What is most powerful in a sense for you is when you can be human, when you can be vulnerable, and when you can show that even if you might be the person who seems more like the most powerful in a room or more like a leader, if the leader can be vulnerable. This is completely Brené Brown, by the way. Like she speaks about the courage for vulnerability. I would say that that's the number one thing for the 5th line. What can happen with the 5th line is that it's going to go out in the world, it's going to speak its truth from its throat center, and it's going to be either loved or hated, or people are going to feel that you have all these solutions, and they're going to project on you that you're their hero, that you're their savior, that you're going to do everything, fix everything for them. But actually that's not your role. And because then one day when you don't save them or fix it, it's going to shift, and they're like, you were before on the pedestal and now you're like not worth anything. So it's really important for the 5th line to be human and to actually use the vulnerability as power, because that's the way of breaking out of misunderstandings, breaking out even of conflicts. Because when there is this kind of projection field that the 5th line has, it can create conflict. It can create guilt and blame in these kinds of things. So when the 5th line can show its humanness, its vulnerability, is saying, yes, I can have impact, but I'm also human. That's when we other people, we also dare to be vulnerable, we dare to be us, and we can create like not the kind of hierarchical relationship with the fifth line, but actually a true mirroring. And I want to actually let Simone come in and see, is there anything, you know, in the essence of the fifth line that you would add to this?
Well, the fifth line is saying that when you're speaking your truth as a fifth line and being the leader, your truth might not be everyone's truth. And that's okay. Those aren't the people you're here to lead. So to really go in and understand if you're speaking to the people you're here to lead. The fifth line is saying that can cause confusion for fifth line leaders. That they're coming, they know they're coming from their heart and they're being vulnerable and human, and they're speaking their truth with love and leading. And the fifth line is showing me that sometimes the people they've surrounded themselves with aren't the people they're there to lead. So really, you know, ask yourself, are these the people I'm here to lead? Instead of getting frustrated. The fifth line says that's very important. That's interesting.
Yeah, it is. And I guess it's also about self-leadership. So it's not only with the other, it's also, you could, like with this power, you could also delude yourself. So that's kind of a little kind of disclaimer there, you know, when you're really convinced about something, is it your mind? When we speak about lines 5 and 6, the upper line, it's about your mental abilities. So here you could also convince yourself with your impact and power. So it's always good to kind of have that, like that check, like become a little bit vulnerable and see where are you leading yourself and where are you potentially leading others. Okay, so let's go into the second line. If you watched last week, we had the 6-2. So this is the same line as we went through last week. Here we have the sacral center. So really kind of being in flow through the world and feeling your juices and kind of feeling that pleasure that we have in the second chakra. And ease, effortlessness, kind of flowing with the other, dancing, that kind of movement is the movement of the second line. The second line also it's interesting here because we have a profile that has 2 lines that are that are creating a projection field. When we speak about the second line, it's more about the physical. So we will have a second line that's maybe, you know, playing its music or dancing, and people will look at them and they'll be like, these talents, where did they learn them? And that's the same thing for the fifth line, but it's more in the mental realm, like finding solutions, being in leadership. The second line has it in the body, has it in the flow, and people are going to want to dance with you. So when you are a second line, it's okay to be picky. It's okay to say, okay, you are my dance partner. I want to flow with you. And kind of in human design, we call it a hermit, to be able to say, okay, no, it just doesn't feel right. But people are going to call you out. So it's about for you to feel who can dance with me. And since you love to be in flow and effortlessness, it's really also knowing that the other person can be a really good mirror for you, because they actually kind of make you get out of your flow and see yourself. So when you dare to look at yourself in the mirror of the other, when you dare to hear the other, you are going to break out of the potential denial that you could have when you say, oh, I'm so much in flow with myself. And when you come in, it's like it's not that fun anymore. It must be your fault. So that's when the second line wants to kind of say, okay, I think I can learn something about relationships, about mirroring, about reciprocity. And very important here to ask for the fifth line to have to have like not like the equality, not like create this kind of separation, I'm higher, I'm lower, but really that reciprocity and in a equality in the relating. And we could say here, it's also, it can be projecting on others to kind of fulfill you. So if you have this line, it's also to see, fulfill yourself first, and don't fuel your life with like disappointment and blame because this or this or this people cannot dance your dance. So it's kind of taking back that responsibility, using relationship to learn about yourself and know that you are here to be in flow. You're actually grounded. When you have a second line on the second part of the profile, 5-2, it's going to be grounded in a kind of flow and movement. So anything that has to do with your spine moving, or like the fluidity even of like your lymph system and these kinds of things, it's important for you to be in your physicality, to be in your movement, to feel like you are inhabiting your sacral center. And this is like, doesn't matter if you're a projector or a generator or whatever aura type you might be in human design. It's really this anchoring into the sacral sensuality and flow for the second line. So let's bring in Simone and see what words she can have for the second line.
Well, I asked the second line what wisdom it would like to share with participants, co-creators tonight. And it showed me this image of like a river being really thin, going out in kind of both directions. And it made me feel in my body like I'd spread myself too thin, in that flow. So instead of having the river be at the stream at this balanced flow, the water was almost drained out of that, and it was in both directions. And then it also says sometimes it's good to look up at the sky. And when it said that, I felt like a hiker walking along the stream. And I was looking down at my feet and where I was placing my feet. And then in the screen, I saw the hiker kind of stop and look up at the sky. And the two said it's important to look up at the sky sometimes too. Interesting. Well, the second line shows that the 2 and the 5 can meet in the heart. So the 5-2 profile can, meet in the heart, to dance and sing, to sing and dance, if you will. So another interesting message, yeah.
Yeah, I love that, because we say that the 2 and the 5 are the same. If we have 6 lines and we have the first trigram 3 lines and the second trigram, they are both in the middle. So there is a resonance, there is a harmonic. So we say that it's almost like the 5th line is kind of the big brother to the second line, and they have a resonance. And I feel like this is not a profile that is very common. It's maybe like less than 3% of the population. And they have this, it's a very powerful profile, and it's different from the 5-1 that kind of has this more like a loner. The 5-2 is not a loner. It's here to flow with the other, to merge with the other, to learn about yourself in the other. And that's, I would say that that's a courageous kind of leadership, because you kind of have to learn in flow. It's not about going into foundation and science and investigation so much. It's more about that intuition in the moment. Mm-hmm. So maybe, Simone, so is there anything, I'm wondering, is there any advice when you have both the 5 and the 2, like, this is something to tap into on every morning when you wake up, remind yourself of this.
Well, when you first wake up in the morning, to connect your 2nd and your 5th chakras and imagine the flow between them, the marriage of the creative and the voice, the sing and the dance, if you will, and to intentionally connect those chakras and those energy centers, however you refer to them, and to move forward from the place of connection between these energy wells is very important, and that there is a balance between the voice and the movement, the sing and the dance, if you will, and to remember to balance that. You can say as much with your flow and your dance as you can with your voice. That when a 5-2 prioritizes the movement or the song over the other, it's almost like the 5-2 is saying that you're ambidextrous. You can sing as well as you can dance. You can voice your leadership as well as use your movement for your leadership, and to really move from a place of balance and valuing of the creative as and the movement in the body, the flow, and the juiciness, as much as you honor and respect your voice and your capacity to lead. So that, now I can see why that connection of the two first thing in the morning, and then moving from the place of balance with both of those chakra centers, those energy centers, how I can value and respect and honor both places. Let's see if the 5-2 has any other wisdom to share. Well, it's just funny, I started seeing in my screens old dance reels of like Fred Astaire singing and dancing, and other old singers and dancers, and how they sang just as well as they danced. And what I was noticing as I was watching that was it was a complete entertainment. It was so completely fulfilling for the person who was watching. That's why those old standards where they were singing and dancing are still relevant today and still entertaining today, because when you combine your voice and your dance, your song and your dance together, it's more than just the capacity to speak or the capacity to dance. It creates a third energy or third superpower, if you will, as you use them together. So fascinating to see and to feel in my body as the 5-2 shows us that wisdom, and how beautifully the gifts of that profile work together. And in my screen now, it's like, when you know something so well. So imagine it reminds me of a jazz musician or a dancer who has danced so long and is so at home in their body that they can riff something beautiful just by listening to something, or listening to the song within themselves. And that what I was seeing was that when the 5-2 is really in balance and empowered both in voice and that juicy creative flow, that they have this capacity to create anew. Like it feels so fresh, which is interesting because we're in the one right now, right? And freshness is important, but it's like how we feel when we watch a jazz musician be able to just riff on some rhythm and bring this genius out with there's no score, there's no practice. It just emerges from them in this kind of imperfect, perfect genius that is so inspiring. And that's what the 5-2 says, that when you're really in balance with both your 5 and your 2, you have this capacity to riff, to create like a jazz musician, or a dancer, a singer-dancer who is so grounded in both their, there's no weakness. They're just as talented or feel just as comfortable with their voice as they do with their dance, their body, their song. So really lovely.
Thank you. I love that. And that is also bringing us back to the fact that when we speak about the profiles and we have this thing in the middle, the 5-2, the conscious side is the 5. That's kind of what we often identify ourselves with. And it can be easy to kind of stay in that. And for a fifth line that has that kind of impact and that can convince people through that, or that, that they're here to express the voice. It's so important to know that the soul side, the DNA, the wisdom of the body, is the second line. So here, in a way, we have a kind of a perfect profile in the sense the fifth line is mental, and it's kind of like who you know that you are, your conscious side. And then the second line, which is a physical line, that is your soul, your body, your DNA. So there is a harmony in that, but also the humanity right now, our preference many times to stay in the mind and not go into the body. So here is really so much about really how much pleasure and wisdom and even like true strength and core stability, I would say, there is for the fifth 5-2 to really come back into the body. There is so much juiciness, there is so much pleasure there. And I feel like 5-2s is only 3% of the population, but when they can combine the whole profile 5-2, it's really when they are going to step up as leaders. And when people can tune into that vibrancy, to that energy that is not only from the voice, it's the embodied leadership. It's really when it's like it's kind of the penny drops and we can feel. They don't even actually have to even use the voice, because there's a vibrancy, there is an aura around the 5-2 that works through the world, embodied through that sacral chakra and that flow and effortlessness. Yeah, and I see Sun Moon is saying the numbers are inversed. Yeah, so if you are 2-5, we're going to get to that profile later this winter, but it's basically the opposite. So it's kind of interesting. It's probably easier for a 2-5 to relate to kind of the body and the effortlessness, and then you have this deeper leadership that is the soul that wants to express itself. So it's different, and it's interesting in its own way. Mm-hmm. So let's see, maybe we should just go into, do you have anything more that you want to share while I pull up the charts, Simone?
Well, the 5-2 says that when you're in balance, when the penny drops, when the sacred union of the 5 and the 2 come together and you're working from that point of balance, that so much opens up. That you sing songs you never thought you would, you say words you never thought you would, you dance in ways that you never dreamed imaginable, that your gifts really exponentialize when you marry them in sacred union together, and you value your DNA, your body, as much as you do your mind. So
yeah, so let's see. It's so interesting because this happens often. Like we say that it's kind of a field that we are in. So 2 of the charts have the same main gene keys or the same main gates. And it happens to be exactly like my life's work in my evolution. So I'm sure, and they are born on the same day. And this is like, it's very strange. You can be born in so many different days on the year and be a 5-2. And here we have 2 people born on May 8th. So let's see if I can make it a little bit bigger, and if I can mute. So here we have, you see here, like what we were saying before, life's work, it's a .5, and then the purpose is a .2. So here we have a 5-2 profile. So here, I would say that challenge of like, you are here to be powerful, you're here to have impact, but it's so important for you that you're actually grounded in your true direction, that you're here, you are like a GPS. The second gene key in the life's work is like you're orienting in every moment. You're like the feminine, you're using your intuition every moment to orient. And Therese was asking about how to be an entrepreneur with her chart. So it's kind of what we were like, even what we're saying so far, what I feel with the 5-2 profile kind of speaks to the entrepreneur. So here for you, your leadership comes from orienting in every moment. Your your challenge with the first jinky can be that you want to be in creativity all the time. This is where the sun is right now in this jinky. So you want to have creativity all the time. You want it to be new and fresh. But when you have the first jinky, this is how the spark works. It can't spark all the time. We can't ejaculate all the time. It's always these phases of like sparking and resting, sparking and resting. So for you, one of your challenges might be to accept those moments of like no activity, avoid, and kind of maybe you go into being frenetic, maybe you go into being depressive. But no, we want you to be you, we want you to orient, we want you to be vulnerable with the fact that life is not always just sparking. And when you can be that, you're going to be a role model. You're going to show on a leadership that is true, that is not like just your voice saying something if you don't feel the energy and the creativity in the body. So when you are able to step into your leadership that is orienting in every moment, you are here to make radical change. You are here to, in your naturalness, you're here to understand the systems that are going on in the world, but you're also here to kind of be a rebel. You're here to make business in a new way. And often I would say it has to do with relationships. So probably you might be doing like something that has to do with a product. I almost feel like you have something that has to do with a service, because there is something in relating, like the way we relate or the way we understand each other. And it's also going together into your attraction. Like there might be something about in your life, like your life is going to be cycles, and it's important for you to not, as a leader, to not be attached and hold on to things, and also to not be completely detached, but to really feel that cyclical things of life. So maybe your entrepreneurship is also going to be focused in cycles on different things, and that's fueled by your inspiration. Like, what are you inspired? And there are probably in your leadership, in your entrepreneurship, going to be moments where you feel like you failed. Oh, that didn't work. The third line is about shame. It's about failure. It's about, oh my God, it didn't work. But for you, it's all about finding that inspiration and orienting with that inspiration, and then see that it cycles and things are going to die, things are going to come back. And just for you to be honest with that, and to find your flow with people, and to tap into something new that happens through relating. So maybe there are like new ways that you work with people, whether they're co-workers or people in your company. And I want to just bring up right away, because we don't have that much time. So here I see that you're a projector, and I see that you have a lot of, you in your entrepreneurship, you have a lot of fuel. So that's a fuel that you have a lot of fuel, and you can also sense the people. So you can sense what people feel, you can sense people, you have in your frequency, your vibration can feel other people. And that's probably going to be part, I feel like, of what's the underline, like what's the foundation of your entrepreneurship. And then you also have a lot of definition in your head and your ajna. So you are here to take that inspiration and kind of bring it in and make those solutions as a 5-2, like rationalize it and bring solutions to the world. And you have the 43 as well, that has to do with you being able to, like, your insights. You're here to share your insights with the world. I would say it's very important for you to surround yourself with people that can value you. So it's not about marketing like to everybody. Like, you want to market yourself to people that are going to be, oh, she's a genius, not to people that potentially would say that you're a freak. So it's important for you also with a very open G center to be in an environment where you feel supported, an environment where you don't feel pressure to say a certain things, or you don't feel a lot of pressure to prove yourself, or also there's something with you with the cyclical sense that you could actually stay with things, with relationships, with co-workers, with a project too long and not really understand what it is that it's actually affecting your well-being. So we want you to be able to say, okay, this cycle is over, I'm moving on, I have a new inspiration, I'm surrounding myself with the people that can hear me, and I'm orienting in every moment. And I'm not afraid of saying, I don't have any creativity today, because that's my leadership, to be honest. And that's how I can make revolutions in the people that I work with, in the people that are my clients. That's kind of my summary. And now I want to bring in you, Simone, and see if you have any words about these charts.
Well, there's something about beauty for this person, and the chart says that you're beautiful, and to know the beauty of your soul, because I'm being brought into your heart space, to the internal part of you, and if you haven't valued the beauty of your soul, now's a good time to really start, contemplating um, the gift of the beauty of your consciousness, and to explore beauty. And in my scripts, what I'm seeing is like how there's a balance of beauty. How does your external world reflect beauty on the inside of you, and how does the internal beauty reflect outside of you? I'm being shown that there's this mirroring of your internal world and your external world. And what I'm hearing is to guide you to look at places in your external world where you would like them to be more beautiful. And then, to really look at all of you, really have some self-contemplation, and to value and be grateful for the beauty of your soul consciousness, that it is truly beautiful. And your soul says that when you value your beauty, you're never wanting. It's like the beauty of your soul is complete abundance. So when you value the beauty of the truth of who you are, your consciousness, you have complete abundance. So those are big messages.
Yeah, and I would say anybody who has Jinki 2 and Jinki 1 in prominent position, I would say that, because the city of the one is beauty, and then the second Jinki is this Taurus energy, this like complete feminine. So there is this sensuality and beauty with it as well. So this goes for you, Therese. It also goes for Deidre, that we're going to bring up now, and for anybody who has the 2 and the 1. So let's bring it up.
Yeah, if you wanted to do a an inventory, a self-inventory, that's what your soul would ask you to inventory, all the ways in which you're beautiful, and to really acknowledge that.
Okay, so here we have a lot of charts together, and I think for the purpose of like making it make sense on the screen, this is kind of the view that comes up best. So here we have another May 8th. We have a 2, 1, 49, 42, exactly the same activation sequence. So everything that I just said for the leadership, how the leadership works, is the same here. When I go into the chart and I do see the vocation, like the core wound, that is a 6-5, I see that here there is even more projection. Instead of the feeling maybe of failure or the feeling of failure or lack of inspiration in some senses that Therese could have, here in Deidre's case, we have relationships that can become a little bit complicated. And this goes together with the question that she had written, which is, how can I communicate to the other my need to withdraw? And that the 6th Jinki is all about being sensitive. It's all about feeling the pH of things. And if the pH is not, if the pH just shifts a little bit, it feels like it's really dangerous in our blood, for example. So when you have the 6th, you can feel those slight differences, and it can feel very uncomfortable. So there is something here with this powerful leadership where I feel like, in the communication, there's almost like a projection field where people seem to kind of not completely understand you. And maybe when we go to your, you have included your astrology. There is something powerful with the first house and the seventh house, me or the other. So I feel that for you, you are exploring relationships, and there is something with the revolution for you in relationship, with an understanding, with a way to communicate, with a way to flow with the other, finding your core stability. Although people might project a lot of different things on you, that's what I feel is important. And it says to you, like, you have the same Sun and Jupiter are on an everyday basis. You are here to orient. You're here to orient through your voice. You're here to orient through your frequency, through your vibration. You're here to keep vulnerable too, because sometimes people might feel like you are, I know that you are very creative. I know that you're like, sometimes you're like identifying with being the clown, but there is something important here with this first gene key that we were saying. Sometimes you are in entropy. Sometimes you don't have, you have to communicate that you don't have the creativity to speak, that you need to be a hermit, because that's what we're saying about the two. It's going to have to be called out. And sometimes it's okay for it to say, I can't dance right now. And that's really what we said, the vulnerability of the fifth line to say, yes, I'm a leader. Yes, I have a strong voice, but I also need to recuperate. That's the first gene key. Says, I can't spark all the time. So if you want me to really spark, allow me to retreat and allow me to feel into, when my pH can kind of be with you or not. And I would say, yeah, there might be some misunderstandings, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't speak up. Even if there are some misunderstandings, you can speak up. And then it's almost like you can be a role model with the other to say, can we forgive ourselves for that little like conflict that happened? Like, you are a role model for like conflict resolution in a way. And that doesn't come from you not expressing yourself. It comes from you expressing yourself and stepping in even to your humility. And here we don't see the whole chart, but we see the same for you. You could actually hold on to things or relationships or communication ways that are not good for you. And you could also feel like, that you are not really, that you're not really valued if you not always show up. So we want you to feel like you don't have to prove anything. You are here to be able to be the hermit if you need to. You're here to be able to be in your own flow if you need to. So I would just say, communicate and know that both your core wound and your vocation is to be able to find a diplomatic way. But in order for that to come through, there might be things from the past that you need to let go of, that you need to forgive, so that you can have this kind of balance, me and the other, and the equal relationship. Because the 2 and the 5 line, like we were saying, they can kind of sometimes be like, I'm over you, I'm under you. No, reciprocity. How can we speak? How can we mirror each other? How can we learn about ourselves through seeing each other? So that's my feeling. And Simone, I'll allow you to see if there is any words for Deidre or in general that want to come through.
The first thing your soul says to you, Deidre, is to thine own self be true. So there is in that this your soul shows me you looking into your own heart and acknowledging the truth of what's in your heart. That your soul is saying that sometimes it's hard for you to see the truth of what it is you actually want, and to consider contemplating what it truly is that you want and being really clear. And the clearer you are about what you want, the easier it becomes to hold your heart in your own hands and speak the truth. And the way your soul shows me that is, it's like you are standing and you're holding your heart literally in front of you, and you can see the truth of your heart. And when you can see it and have your gaze on it, it's easier to share it with others and to look at it together. And so that clarity of, allowing yourself the time to look within, to contemplate what is the truth within you, is super important for you. And just the way that your soul shows me this in pictures, it's almost like you've put up something in front of your heart. You kind of have to look behind it. So there's something that you have, used in front, almost for whatever way, you've needed to use that in front, and then you kind of look behind it, almost like you hold your cards really close to your chest, and then, look in, and it makes it hard to see what it is that you truly feel and want, desire, love, enjoy, appreciate. And that clarity of consciousness will truly help your heart bloom. And when you are clear, your soul shows me just that your heart blooms. So the flowers that your heart blooms are so beautiful that it's hard to ignore them when you allow that truth to truly come out. That they're so beautiful that you won't want to not see them. You will want to see the truth of what blooms inside of you.
Yeah, I love that. And that's like getting out of the projection field and speaking your truth for the fifth line, for all the fifth lines. So we create clarity instead of misunderstandings and conflicts through the projection field. So we are going to go into a chart, which is not the same birthday anymore, but we still have a 5-2. See. So we have 5 on this side and we have 0.2 on this side. And here I see the 37 and the 40 have to do with community. And there is something that I feel like you're here to kind of show with your unique voice and truth. What is community? And it kind of looks different than what it has for many, many years. This is part of the cross of planning that's been for many, many years now. And it's about how like the family and community has worked so far. And I feel like you are here to speak your voice about a different way, a way that doesn't exhaust us, whether it's the man that has to do all the hard work and come home to the family, or it's the woman that's home with the kids. Like, no, there's like these old roles that we were taking in. No, now we are coming into divine union inside of ourselves. So we have the resolve of the masculine, we have the tenderness of the feminine, and it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, like the mom and the dad, and it's really about coming into union in yourself, and then attracting other people through this vibrancy of like the fifth line, the frequency, the aura that you have, that are also already whole in themselves, we would say. And it's only when that happens, and you kind of have to be vulnerable in a way with your truth, because it's going to look different, is what I feel. And that's the way that you can break through and come into your radiance, where there are no limits. There's like boundlessness, there is timelessness. And this is also Simone's in here, so you're going to probably hear from her there. And I actually even want to go into your human design and kind of look at this theme, which is big, because you have this 40 and 37. It's not only once, you have it in black and you have it in red. So it's really a theme. It has to do with your environment and your nodes. So there is something about how community looks, how family looks, that is very powerful. And it's also, there is something a lot about intimacy, a lot about intimacy, and even tantra that is big in your chart. You have those 2 channels that go from the G center to the sacral. So life force, like primal life force that you have in your sacral, like being also 5-2, that is going to move up to the heart. So it's really, you are somebody who comes to the world with this ability to move primal force up into the heart, saying, this is who I am, this is where I'm going, this is where love is, this is what love is. And you can see that the same way that we have Deidre and Therese, who had the 2, you also have the 2. You have an intuition in the moment, and that is how you circulate energy. And it's so important for you to be true to your energy, to be true to your rhythm, to be true to your fluorescence, to be true to what you are attracted to in life. And you have the 6 the same way that we have with Deidre, but you also have the 59. So there's something like really with a kind of tactile intimacy the way that you relate to life, that I feel so much go together with this super defined sacral center. So finding your way to really, move that energy, but also knowing that you are here to move it up through the heart, through the way that you walk through the world, where you're going, who you are, what love is. And there is something here very connected to what we just said that have to do with how things are conceptualized, the confusion, the doubt, the psychosis that is in society, and also how we say this is right, this is wrong, the conceptualization of the ashna, that you are here to be like, yeah, sure, but really it's like you have worked through that in other lifetimes, and you're coming back, and by tuning in to the definition of your chart and living out the truth of your voice in those channels, you're going to be able to reflect back to the world that there is a new way, that there is not black or white, that we're not that we don't have to pretend even that we're certain, but there are new ways of living. And I feel like I just want to see the vocation like by going back. Yeah, like that's your fluorescence. Sometimes you're going to feel like you're failing. Sometimes you're going to be ashamed of what's going on. Sometimes it's going to feel extreme, but you're here to be in your full fluorescence. You're here to be like trying out and playing with your energy in life. And there is something by you being true to you, by you being true to your voice, it's almost like you're weeding out some kind of corruption that I don't even know if it's in your own lineage and DNA or if it's in a bigger picture. But knowing that you are 5'2", your voice is going to spread. It can really touch a lot of people. So I would say that I don't really know what you're weeding out, but it might be quite big. And there's some kind of something is going out so that we can come into more harmony, so we can come into more equilibrium. And I would say it probably has to do something with family, with community, with gender roles, with like, this is what it is to be a man, this is what it is to be a woman, this is how it's supposed to look. No, intimacy, it's about communing with the other, taking that primal animal nature we have and connect it to the heart, circulate it through the heart, and meet from the heart. So for you as well, you're here to meet people from the heart. I feel like that's kind of the message coming back from Deidre and from Therese as well, that I feel very much that connection point that is happening in your SQ, which is also your liberation. Like when it meets in the middle, like that whatever pipe that felt like a bit clogged, that is opening up, and you're coming into that role model with integrity. But it's like you need to be true to yourself and to how your energy moves. Simone, what do we have for Eric?
Let's see. Well, Eric's soul shows me that he's like going in all these different directions. Like there's a home base inside of him, and he's kind of, like going, looking in all these different directions. And his soul just kind of stops and looks down at his own heart. And then the minute he looks down into his whole heart, the energy drops right into his core. And there's so much equilibrium, balance, strength, knowing that the clarity comes when he's really connected with his own body and going into his own body. Like look right down into your heart, and then the energy just drops, and it's like it reminds me of mountain pose in yoga. If somebody's truly in a great strong mountain pose, you can't really move them. They're so grounded. And when you look into your heart, you ground into your own body, you are so grounded. So really essential step for you. Let's see what else your soul has to say. Your soul showed me this really interesting image. It was like a dragonfly wanting to fly, but your soul needing you to be in the body. So it's almost like your soul wants to fly out of your body, but you're here in a body to be in a body. So be okay with your body and being in your body and feeling what your body feels and experiencing that embodiment. That you can fly embodied, and your cell is kind of making a joke through the images. So then the next image is to fly embodied is there's a jogger with dragonfly wings. So he's like in the body and flying. So it's like your soul is saying you can fly when you're embodied. Just be embodied, and don't shrink from embodiment. And really, I would say maybe a contemplation on what you feel about being in your body, and that might be a really nice contemplation for you, because your embodiment is so important to your work here that being okay with that embodiment is super important. So maybe a contemplation on, where you feel at home in your body, or where you'd rather leave your body, and finding some grace or peace in embodiment might really help you. Well, I can feel like you want to jump in, so go for it.
Yeah, I just want to say to everybody, like we're speaking about the 5-2 and the 2 needing to embrace the body, but also just looking at the design, that really here we have a generator. So it's all about being in the generator truth first, which is the sacral center, and the other colored centered. So there is a superpower when it comes to the mind, when it comes to the head, when it comes to the open centers. But really the grounding is happening in the body. If we don't have these tantric channels, if this is not embodied, if this is not where you start as a generator, the other things, like, you're going to probably be lost in the open centers and drain yourself. So look at your chart, and you don't need to know much about Gene Keys or human design. Like, look at your human design and be like, okay, these are filled in, and there is something for me here to embody, and it's important for me to do this first, and then I can become really wise about all the openness and everything I take in and everything that filters through me. But the groundedness of who you are, it comes from the definition, and especially for generators in the sacral center, in this root center here. There are emotions, there is a direction, there is knowing who you are, all these things, because you could be living completely out of your authority, out of your aura type, and then you're going to be a cloud of frustration instead of this like warm enchanted forest that we want to lean into to feel a piece of your intimacy. So I would say, yeah, it would be interesting to hear from you, Eric, a little comment maybe on if you feel like you are grounded in your authority, or if you sometimes have felt like you're coming off that center.
Yeah, your soul says when you really bring your awareness into your body, it said something like, "Who knew all I had to do was go inside to fly?" Who knew that flying was going in, and that there are some big awarenesses for you that are possible, like really connecting with your genius. The more and more you are really clear about going in, and like maybe don't even stop with your physical form, but go into your cells. Go bring your awareness into your cells, into your DNA, like really deep structure of embodiment. Go into your body and unlock that wisdom within, and any discernment that you've had about your body that you want to reconsider. Like, is there any conditioning that you've had that maybe you can reconsider now? And it's almost like the way your soul showed it to me was clearing the windshield off. Like, maybe you got a whole lot of bugs on the glass of your windshield, and it's kind of time to clean the glass so you can actually see what's true for you, and not what's the truth for other people, because your truth is so really exponential genius. And the more you go within, the more that the genius that you have from your body, the wisdom in your body can birth in the world and really fly just by going in. Let's see. I was asking your soul if there was something else, if there was another thread or another theme, or if there's another area. And it's like, no, not really. This is what I want to talk about. So.
Thank you, Simone. We have been on for almost an hour, but I feel like, especially for those profiles that are only like 3% of the population, I know that it's hard to find information out there, because everybody that have the more common ones, these are the ones that there is a lot of information. So, I feel like we got to, even I got to know the 5-2 better through these readings, and kind of see how the life story kind of shows up. So yeah, well, thank you, Simone, for being here.
You're welcome. It was so fun.
And next week we're going to the 5-1, which is a much more common profile. I know that some people have already posted it. So you can either find me and Simone, like, to post your free charts, either Unlock Your Design on Facebook or Unlock Your Design inside the Conscious Leadership Network. You can post your charts there. They're going to be posts up where you can do that. And if you love this, you could also reach out to us in those tribes or these groups to, like, for your personal reading or for anything else that you have questions about. So thank you, Simone. Thank you, everybody, for being with us today. Bye.